Good evening and welcome to Tip Demo Wednesday with Captain Stitches. Hi, I'm Jean, and this evening I am going to be going over my process for doing a collage, which will be for the quilt brain fog. And I will be showing you how to prepare your fabrics for that and how to prepare your pattern for that this evening. We won't be able to get everything done in one session, so I will do what I can in this one, and then we will have a follow-up on showing more of the technique that I am using for that. But welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And the first thing that we are going to do is go over some of the things, of course, that you are going to need and get started with this. So let me switch over to the work surface camera so you will be able to see what I am doing. And there we go. Okay, so first of all, you are going to need to decide on what your collage is going to be and what size you want it to be. When you have made that decision, you are, of course, going to have a photo or a drawing for your collage. So mine is, of course, of me sitting here in brain fog. So this is the photo that I am using. It was a normal photo taken with the camera actually on my laptop. And then I brought it into the software, decided what size I needed it to be, resized it, and then printed it out so that it will be fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Hello, Tracy. Welcome to you. And Vintage Style by Joe. Welcome, welcome. And Carol, welcome to you as well. But getting started in this. So this is the photo that I am using, and that is where it all begins. So once you have that, the other things that you are going to need is you are going to need, let me see, we've kind of got some of this out of order laying here, but you're going to need a scissors, a good pair of scissors, sharp scissors that you use for when you are cutting paper or fusible, that type of thing. The ones that I use for that, and I have them labeled so I never mistake what I use them for, are a pair of Tim Holtz scissors. And then you are also going to need a good smaller pair of scissors for cutting your fabric. And for that, I use the Karen K Buckley because they are a great scissors for cutting your intricate little cuts and all the fabric that you're going to need for your collage. You're also going to need, of course, that ever reminding you of Pigma pen. It doesn't matter what size, what color you use for this. It's just what you're going to be using to trace your master pattern and then the other sections that you will need for that. So I'm going to lay these over here out of the way for right now. You're going to need some masking tape. Of course, you're going to need a light box. Or if you don't have that, whatever it is you use for your tracing, a window, the clear acrylic insert that you use for your sewing machine, or if you have a glass table, that works well too. You're also going to need some parchment paper. You are going to need freezer paper, or if you're doing this size, they do have a printable freezer paper sheets that you can run through your printer. And that is what I am using. And you are also going to need some steam a seam too. You can use the light steam a seam too or the regular steam a seam too. It will work for this project, but that is what you are going to need. I'm going to set that up out of my way, excuse me. And you are also, of course, going to need a regular iron, and you are going to need, if you have, it comes in really handy for this project. If you don't, and you are really going to get into collage, I suggest you get one of the little mini, oops, as we've got the cord all wrapped around here, but one of the miniature wand type irons. That will be very handy for this project. So now I'm going to get my iron back on here because we will be needing that. It'll probably go off again before we get to that point, but that's okay. And I'm going to that within reach. Okay, so once you have your photo, the first thing that you are going to need to do is make a workable copy, a master copy for your collage. And I need to pull my tape off of here. So on your light box, you are going to lay down your photo. You are going to tape it down with your masking tape so that it doesn't move. And then with just a regular sheet of copy paper, you are going to put that over that, and then you are going to trace all the segments of that according to the shading and everything so that you have a master copy. Then you are going to go in after you've done your rough drawing, and you are going to label all of the sections that you are going to need to be cutting pieces for. And you want to do that in a way that you are going to understand what it is afterwards. So you want to use like a letter and a number because these are going to go in sections and they are going to also be numbered for the order that you are putting them in. So because this is the hair, I am labeling those with an H and then the number. So this would be H1. This section is H2. Over here is, sorry, looking at the reverse in the camera, H2, H3, H4, and so on. For the face and or the fleshy parts, because the hand is also that, I'm using F. So for the hands, we've got those pieces all labeled with F and a number, F1, uh, there's F2, F3, F4, and so on, and the other hand. And then to distinguish the difference between that and the face, I used FH, and that is the basic larger part of the face up here. And then this will be face down here, here, and here. The nose is part of the face, but it is labeled with an N for nose, the eyes with an E, and so on. So you get that idea. But you are going to do all of that and you are going to label that as your master copy because you want to keep that. You don't want to do anything with that at all. You want to keep it just like it is. So I'm going to take my photo out from underneath there. And you will see that we are left with our master copy. And on that master copy, after you have gone over everything that you want, you've come up with the shading and the different sections by how it is on your photo, however intricate you want it or how simple you want it. Hello, welcome, good evening, Debbie. Uh, just so you know, Debbie, I found the blue truck pattern this morning. Yay! First thing when I walked into the cottage, so that mystery is over. But yes, I was looking all over for another another pattern that I lost everybody. Happens frequently in the cottage, but that has been solved. Okay, so the next thing you are going to do with this master copy is you need to make templates from all of these sections that you are going to use to cut out on your fabric. And the way you are going to do that is where your freezer paper comes in. So this is one of the sheets of the freezer paper that is printable. If it's not printable, you would be laying that over your master copy and you would be tracing and labeling every single one of these pieces on to your freezer paper. And you are going to need more than one because as you cut some sections out, there are other sections that are on top. So you will need extra copies. So I would advise that you kind of look and have an idea of how intricate and detailed you're being, that you may want to make about 3, or if you're just doing the one that you're not printing it out, you can just use another part of freezer paper and trace the other parts that you need. But because I print mine out on the printer, I will take 3 of these sheets and print that master copy out on the freezer paper. And then, of course, once you have that done, I'm not gonna go over printing that all. You are going to have your copy that looks like this on your freezer paper. So the next step is you are going to take and you are going to cut all of those individual sections out of your freezer paper. Some of this is already on fabric from a process I was doing earlier and kind of changed my mind on, but that's still usable. But you have all of the, let's see, just I don't know if you can see this one. I'm gonna put something. Let me take this and put over that. Well, if we turn the light off, that would help. Cool. There we go. Okay. Some of your pieces can be quite small and quite intricate. So that is the top rim of the glasses. So that is going to be very interesting to get cut out of the paper, but I mean out of the fabric, but it is doable. So you are going to have all of those cut out and they are going to be ready then to use on your fabrics, to cut those all out in the fabrics and the shades and everything that you're going to need. So then you are going to need the parchment paper because that is what you will be preparing your foundation on. So just get your parchment paper from the roll, cut a piece that fits your light box, and you'll be putting that over the top of your master copy again, and you will be taping it down. And yes, there's a lot of tracing to do in the collage. So you are going to, again, trace everything that is on here, or at least the main sections. Some you may be able to get by and know where it goes, but on something as intricate as this, you're going to want that, have that all traced to where you will end up with one that looks like this. And I'm just kind of overlaying it on there so you can see, but you have that traced out on your parchment paper because parchment paper is non-stick and we are going to be using a fusible. So we will be able to lay it on here, fuse it, and the fusible will not stick. So it will remain on the fabric to be used in your final project. So that is the step where you start layering on all of your fabrics onto that parchment paper. And we aren't going to go into the next part of that yet. That we will leave for another session. So that is the major prep work that you have before you get to ever being able to put anything onto your collage. And you are also quiet in the chat. So I am going to now move this out of my way. The other thing that I did not mention that you are going to need is you are going to need, of course, something to prepare all your fabrics on. And that is going to be, you are going to at least need a non-stick Teflon sheet. And if you have, you are going to need a non-stick applique mat that you can press on that's heat resistant. This is one of the ones that doesn't allow the fusible to stick to it. So it is very nice. You don't have to clean it off afterwards. It all remains onto what you are pressing to. But I do use, just to make sure that I don't have anything laying wrong, any excess fusible showing, I use the Teflon pressing sheet that happened to come with this one, and I will tell you what this is in a minute. And it also came with a wool pressing mat. So you have everything that you need when you get this for doing collage quilts or appliquing, that type of thing. And what this is this is a Sewmadic, Sewmadic, and I will add that to the description box after this is over. We'll get to that, Tracy. You're ahead of me. But that's not usually done for a collage, but I'm getting to that. But this is an applique fusing mat. It has the bonus Teflon pressing sheet and also the wool pressing mat, as I said. That goes with that. It's 17 by 13.5 inches. And it's non-slip and non-stick fusing mat to stop your fabrics from shifting and sticking to your ironing surface when doing fusible applique or collages. The Teflon pressing sheet you put over your project to protect your iron from coming into contact with any of it. You can wipe it clean. It's convenient, portable, and it's suitable to use with glue gun crafts as well. And this I did get off Amazon, but that is just so you know what that is. So now we are going to prepare our fabrics. To move that out of the way, which if you do a lot of collages, you will have some fabrics already prepared and sorted and stored the way that you store them. But we're going to pretend like we don't have that, and I'm going to show you how we do prepare. And I'm going to move this one over to the side. Okay, getting ready here. And I need one of the sheets of the steam machine. So, let's see. I'm gonna lay that off over there for now. So this is a sheet of your steam machine. It has a little yellow grid on one side and it's just plain on the other, but both sides of it fused the same. So you're just going to remove one side of that. I try to make it because sometimes you want to draw some of your patterns on here. So I try and leave the part that has the yellow grid on it in case I'm going to be drawing anything. And you will find that it can be a little tricky to get this started to come apart. But usually if you go to a corner, you have a fingernail. If not, you can use a pin or something like that. But you are going to peel away. Ew. The one side, which of course the opposite one came off, but that is okay. It doesn't matter. You're going to lay that sticky side up. You can save the one that you took off and use that for a tearaway stabilizer on something else if you do projects that need that. So I'm laying that out of my way. So now you have this sticky side up, paper side down, and you are going to take your fabrics that you are using, and you're going to make sure that they are right side up. And I'm going to turn it this way because I can make better use of the size, which I cut my fabrics for collage ahead of time and have them stored by color and that. So mine, I usually get 1/8 of a yard cuts, and then I cut a section off of that that is approximately 4.5 by 6 to 8 inches. So this, because they were a little generous on their 1/8 of a yard, these are about 5 inches by 8 inches that I have cut and prepared. So we are just going to lay those on there. You should be able to get another one, and you want to make sure. Let's see if I've got another one that's not quite that long, so I can use that other side more efficiently. Okay, I'm going to put this one right there, and you're going to make it come right to the edges. You want to make sure that you're keeping no bubbles or anything in it while you are laying that out. So you just kind of hold the edge up and smooth it out as you go. There's a little bit that may go off. That's okay. We'll just trim that when we're done. And let me see what we have here. I'm trying to judge by the size because I do have some smaller pieces in here. I want to, like I said, make the best use of the fusible as I can. And looking to see if I have any smaller pieces we can put in there. Okay, we're just going to go with this one right down here. As you go, you will have sections that you trimmed off that you can fill in also on there, which I should have a thin one right here where you see there's just this thin part here. I have this thin strip left over, and for some of those tiny pieces, you will find that you will use that. So putting that on there. And let me see, what else do we have? I'm going to go ahead and throw this one in here. Until we have basically the majority of that filled up. I'm looking to see if I have any other narrow, thin ones that I can slip in there. I don't think I do. I think I used all those sections. So that's okay. So now we are going to take this and we are going to take our Teflon pressing sheet and my iron shut off, of course, because I talked too long. But we're laying that over there. And you are going to press it, which, what do we have under here? We will just pull these that I did earlier so we don't have to wait on that. That's a great mat. Yes, it is. It comes in very handy. And welcome to you, Andrea. Great to see you this evening. But these are some of the ones I prepared earlier. This is not all one sheet. This is actually two that were cut and both of them were put on here. And you see how you just fill it all up as best you can. And yeah, okay, so move those out of the way. It looks like the iron is ready. So you are going to take your iron, and this is not your final pressing on it. You just want to get these stuck to that one layer of your steam seam. So you want to make sure you get all of those edges. And you want to make sure it is adhered well enough that it's going to stay on there. But this is not, you know, this is not the portion that is your final project. So you are going to be using this and cutting it up. So once you have it to that stage, and it's going to be warm. Now, when I take this off, there is going to be some in that spot, because I use the Teflon sheet instead of my mat. There's going to be a little bit of that on there, and you just have to find where it is and remove it, and it comes right off with your finger. So very easy, but you try to fill it up as much as you can. I'm looking at that and I see that there isn't any left. So the next thing that you're going to do, and make sure you remember to put your cutting mat under this. You do not want to cut on your applique mat. You are going to take and you are going to trim those sections all apart. And if you do this a lot, you might want to have a dedicated rotary cutter for that, because it will be going through fusible and paper. So you might not want to use the one that you use all the time for cutting your regular fabrics. And I am going to cut this section off first so it's not in the way of the other. We don't want to have to cut through. We want to be able to make as straight as cut as we can. And then we're going to do this one. And you're just cutting those sections that you just put on there back apart so they, oopsie, are your sections that you will be working with, because you will be sorting these by their color and by light to dark. And if you have a narrow little bit of that still showing, you just want to freehand trim that off, because you don't want any fusible exposed on there. I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. And there's a little bit down here, but you want to make sure that you don't have any of the fusible on there that's going to get on anything when you go to doing your project. And you might want to flip it over. That's okay. It's close enough. We're not going to be using those ends. And don't throw your scraps in your way. Have a bin close by, easy to throw those away, which I do. But, and of course we need, and this is a little longer and straighter, so I'm going to put my ruler on there to trim that part off. And you are going to do this with all of your fabrics. So depending on the size of your collage, that could be a lot of fabrics to prepare if you don't have fabrics already pre-prepared and stashed away for doing collages. But part of the fun is always preparing things. Get rid of that. So we have that all cut, and we can set those aside, which I have, so that you know which is your prepared and not prepared. I have another container that I'm just going to put those ones that have the fusible on them in there. But you're going to do that with all of your fabrics. These out of my way. Put this back down here, remove this, so we can get on to our next step. Close your blade. There we go. Okay, so we're back to being ready. But yeah, you're going to prepare all of your fabrics in this way. If you have a large collage, you may want to buy your steam a seam by the roll instead, which is what I have done. But for this video and being able to show you, I am doing it with the sheets that you can buy. They are 9 by 12 is what they measure, and they usually come 5 to a package. But I have all of these fabrics that I will be using in that collage. So I have all of these that I have to prepare yet and put on that freezer paper. So but once you have that done, like it said, then you will be taking your templates that you have made here. I think I did. Yes, I left just so I could show you. And I forgot to do that in the earlier. So we will go ahead and do that. This is on the freezer paper. This is all of the hair section, but these all need to be cut out individually. So I'm going to start with the H1, and I'm going to carefully make sure that I cut that template out exactly as it is drawn. A little bit further, and I'm going to go over here instead of trying to do that V. We're going to cut these all apart. That out of the way. I'm going to set it on top of my envelope for right now. But you will cut all of these that you have on your freezer paper, right on the lines that you have sectioned out. And when it's a section like this, you might want to try Try and keep that together. Don't just throw it into your envelope so that you're searching all over and don't know where they are when you're ready to work with it and place it on your fabric. Which, when you do this, you will again use your applique pressing mat so that it doesn't stick, because you will just be lightly pressing these to the right side of your fabric to cut out of your fabric. And because it already has the fusible on the back, of course, you don't want that to fuse to anything. It'll still have the protective paper on it. I was looking for number 4. Here we are. But we're going to cut those all out. You're going to do that with all of the templates that you traced onto your freezer paper from your master copy. So yes, this is a little bit of a time-consuming project, but you get the idea there. And like I said, you will try to keep all of those sections together. And I know that that's not going to quite fit in my envelope, so we're going to turn that around the other direction. And like I said, you may need more than one copy on your freezer paper, because when we come to some of these sections that are on top of others, you will have cut, for instance, my face, I cut that whole section as one piece. I don't know if that's in here or not. Yes, it is. And that's where those individual ones, you're going to have that section that you cut out of there if you didn't trace that separately. And so that is that, and all of the rest of this is going to be put on top of that larger section. And that is why you will need multiple copies to be able to cut the other parts out that are going on that, because you will lose some of those when you cut that. But now to answer pretty fabrics. Thank you. Some of those are hand-dyed fabrics that I actually purchased that are for portrait collage when I did the class that you have seen, the one that I did of my mother. So those are hand-dyed ones that were done especially for using for um you can get it in different colorways, but so they are a lot of the ones. It was called the flesh. um fabric packet. So I used those for this as well. But thank you for that, Joe. And Joe says she would be afraid to cut those pieces out. Oh, you get used to it. Some of them can be small and intricate, but believe me, in the one for my mother, there were pieces smaller than this. And because I do know the you know, color tinting technique by using either crayons or the colored pencils, I have thought that I may try to do the eyes with the color tinting instead. And I'm planning on, there isn't going to be any fabric where the glass part is on these. That's why just that upper frame part I have cut out. I'm not going to use anything for the actual glass part of the glasses. What I will be doing is I will be embroidering the line and embroidering some on the frame of the glasses, so that stands out afterwards, and that will be part of the quilting process. But for the eyes, I'm going to do it both ways and decide what I like best. I'm going to cut the individual pieces because that is what I have done before, but I am also going to cut just the portion of the eye and do it with the color the crayon color tinting technique and some light embroidery on that, because I don't want the eyes to stand out from the rest of it. There might not be any embroidery on it. We will see. But I'm going to do that both ways and then decide which way that I like that. Hello, Missouri Outlaw Randy. Welcome to you. So that is basically, let me make sure that I have covered everything that I was going to cover in this. I know it's not basic, but those are what I was going to show you this evening, because I am not going to cut and lay these out and decide, because I don't know what exact portions of the fabric I am using on mine yet. That is another process in itself. You have to decide exactly what fabrics you want, how you want them, because some of these fabrics have shading within them that you can use in a way where there are smaller ones that you may be able to use two of them in a fabric, only one fabric, because of the way the shading is on the fabric, and get the shading that you want. And I will be going into that with you all on the next one. The glasses are one piece. The glasses would be, but I'm not cutting the actual lens portion of the glasses. That is not going to be on there so that the eyes show through. I only cut this upper frame part of the glasses, which is the smaller piece that I showed you earlier. That is going to be very intricate to cut out on the fabric, but it will work. This portion I will um, use a light box or whatever and get on there, and that I will do a light, very light embroidery stitch on, so that it shows the bottom portion of the glasses. Or I will just use a Pigma pen or something like that to make that come out. I'm not going to be doing the lens portion of the glasses, because it's just too tricky to try and find something that will show the skin and the eyes coming through underneath and not interfering with that. So that is the way that I'm going to do that. Which, this part that's on here, the shirt that I had on, is not part of the collage. It's only the hands. I decided I'm not doing that because it would look funny with my shoulders and arms cut off. It'll look better with just the hands and everything going up there to place it on the quilt. So again, let me look at my notes, make sure that I have gone over everything. Yeah, we'll be going over the placement of it on the parchment paper and everything. Just wanted to let you know that that is part of the process, but that is what I will be going over the next video that I do for the collage of the portrait section of Brain Fog, because I did promise you all that I would share that process with you as I went along. So when I'm at that stage, I will do another video and I will show you how that is done as well. And I'm going to switch to the other camera, because there was one other thing I wanted to mention this evening before I forget. And that is the quilt that is behind me, which some of you may recall. You may have seen that quilt before, because that is the quilt Veteran Stars that I designed myself, because I do charity quilts for veterans. My charity for veterans is called Veterans Quilts. It is, I do not do quilts of valor, that type of thing. I just do quilts for veterans, and I give them out randomly to veterans, those that someone may make me aware of and request or something. But also when I go to the VA, I will just take some with me, and I will just sit there and I will let things speak to me and let me know who I'm supposed to go up to, and just randomly give them a veterans quilt. I also do veterans quilts now for the veteran expectant mothers, because I never thought of that before, and I thought that would be a great thing for uh, veteran expectant mothers to receive a quilt for their babies that are coming along. So that is something that I do. But I also do a charity quilting marathon annually, once a year. I normally do that more around um, prior to Veterans Day, but I am going to do that in June this year. And I'm going to be using that quilt and that pattern in the different sizes, and doing it in the regular size, which is what you see. I do have the pattern printed so that it comes in three different sizes. It comes in the regular size right there. I don't remember the dimensions of that right now. I don't have it in front of me. And then a lap size and the baby size. Those are all included in that pattern. And normally, I give most of my patterns out free, but because I am a self-funded charity, um, I have decided that I am going to sell this one as a digital download. It'll be a PDF that you'll be able to download. And the information for how you can purchase that will be in my Facebook group. And then I may share that in the description box of another video. Not this evening because I haven't finalized all the details of that, but I will do that also on how you will be able to purchase the Veterans Stars pattern if you so desire, which some of you may not. When I say Veteran Stars, you may be looking at it wondering, where are the stars? It's a secondary pattern that is formed in the way that this is laid out. So if you look at the plain blue, it's not plain, but the blue checked fabric going around that actually forms a star. And then it melds into another star across from it and melds into another one below it. And depending on the size quilt you make will be the number of stars that appear in that. But you will not see that star at first. And then when you look, you will notice, oh, there's a star in there. And that is where the star is. So thank you, Randy. This is very nice of you. I'm doing a vet quote for a 30-year Navy man. Awesome, awesome. I am a veteran, a disabled veteran. Most of my father, my brother, my um, brother-in-laws, some of my nephews, both of my sons, we were all military. So yes, I am very much into doing things for veterans. And I also do quilts for children, but we'll go into that in another chat. But what I wanted to say is getting back to the marathon. I am scheduling that for June 7th. That is a Saturday. And because it's a marathon, yes, it's a little longer period of time. It is done on Zoom. I was also Air Force, Randy. Um, it will be done on Zoom, so volunteer quilters that want to come up on that Zoom panel with me for the marathon and work on veterans quilts. If you don't want to do a veterans quilt, you can do a children's quilt for children's charities. I do that as well. But we will be working together on that Saturday, June 7th, from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to be there the entire amount of time. You can come on when you want, leave when you want, but it will be a marathon that we will be doing for veterans quilts and charity quilting that Saturday. And the information will be for that in my private Facebook group, which the link for that is always in the description box below. So that is what I wanted to get out because it's getting close to that so people can make plans for that. So I will have the information in my Facebook group as well that you can check. And I will probably also put that in a community post when I have everything ready for that and how you can get a copy, how you can find out the information for how to purchase the digital PDF download for that. So thank you, everyone. That is everything that I have for you this evening. I hope that you have a great week and that you have a great time stitching, and maybe you will try a collage quilt yourselves, or maybe you already have. But take care, and as always, remember, in the meantime, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye, everyone.